what exactly do we want to achieve whenever we start this particular kind of an investigation? Objective number one, objectives in forensic accounting. Remember, I said the word accounting can be used as a synonym to stand for investigation and to stand for auditing. And so here we say the first objective is to prove or disprove fraud. When I say disprove, I mean to confirm or whether an actual fraud did take place. So you say it means confirming whether an actual fraud did take place. Whether an actual fraud did take place. You want to know that. But you cannot just know that a fraud took place. You need to know exactly how it was orchestrated or how it was designed. And that is point number two. We want to know, to determine how the fraud was designed. And other times, we also wish to know how long has it been taking place and how long it has been taking place. In accounting and audit, we say a fraud can never occur until money has been misappropriated, and therefore it is always good to quantify how much money are you going to be expecting to have been lost in this particular fraud. So we say number three, to quantify the financial loss. To quantify financial loss or losses. So we want to make that loss to be monetary terms so that we can be able to know how much money has the company lost in this particular scenario. Once you know how much has been lost, then you can ask yourself who was involved, and that is what we refer to as to identify the perpetrators of that particular fraud. To identify the perpetrators. The perpetrators here, you can also refer to them as the fraudsters, people who committed those frauds relating to the company. Once you know the persons who are involved in that particular fraud, the next thing perhaps is to collect evidence that will be used in a court proceeding. To gather evidence for use in courts. For use in courts. So once you gather evidence for use in courts, we also expect you to write a report, and that report will be used for making recommendations. So you want here to go ahead and provide recommendations for improvement, and therefore I'm going to add one more point down here. We say to write a report for recommendations, and recommendations are for our internal system. And lastly, we have to attend the court proceedings. But generally, those are the main issues. You want to know whether there was a fraud, you want to know how the fraud took place, and you want to know how much was lost, who was involved in that particular fraud, and ultimately you will also gather evidence and attend the court after giving maybe what we refer to as recommendations for improvement. So your report should contain what we refer to as recommendations, and those should guide you in making or providing advice to the company. In another case concerning what we refer here as forensic, we are supposed to be looking on what we refer to as applications, areas of applications where a forensic accountant can use his work. Remember that forensic accounting is supposed to be done where there is dispute, because we are trying to resolve a dispute between two people or between a number of parties. So as long as you know any particular scenario in a court of law where there is what we call a dispute, for example, in case of divorce, where a husband and a wife are in dispute, I don't know what they are fighting for, but they can also go ahead and fight for a number of things. We need to resolve about that because they have resources and they have assets, they have liabilities, they have incomes, they have expenses, and we have to resolve that particular case in the court of law. So one of the areas of application, these one are areas of applications of forensic accounting. Areas of application of forensic accounting will be in marriage breakups. I don't know whether you call them marriage breakups or some people refer to them as divorce, or some people will call them marital disputes. Marital disputes. You go to the court and you find one party on this side, defense, on the other party is a complainant, and all of them they are saying how much money they owe, how much money they want to go ahead and compensate each other or maybe maintain each other. And that time the accountant must be found who will go ahead and collect evidence, present that evidence in a court of law to resolve that particular dispute. There are scenarios whereby we have a shareholder on one side and we have a director on the other side, and they are fighting over what? I don't know. Maybe it's about misappropriation of resources in a company, or maybe it's about frauds in that particular company, or maybe it's about maybe allocation of resources, or maybe they have done something that is not supposed to be done according to the policy. So the shareholders and directors are in courts, and we want maybe to go ahead and resolve that one. Have you ever heard of a scenario whereby the insurance claims has a dispute? Insurance claim. The insurance company is complaining that you're asking for so much money. And you are saying you're not asking so much money. So you find yourself in the courts and you're trying to determine how much money perhaps should one be compensated in a case of an insurance claim. So in insurance claims dispute, then we have to bring that particular person. Here we are referring him as a forensic accountant. The director of public prosecution can involve a forensic accountant in criminal investigations, especially those resulting from money laundering or those resulting from referred to as tax evasion, money laundering, and we have what we call tax evasions. All those criminal activities we would wish to go ahead and quantify the amount involved. In partnership, we also have disputes. A partner and another partner would wish to resolve the disputes maybe in an order, and that one can only be done in a court. So we say partnerships or partnership disputes, especially during what we refer to as what? Dissolution of a partnership. You can also go ahead and bring other issues, for example, employer and employee disputes, employer and employee disputes. You can talk about trade unions, negotiations and disputes, trade unions, disputes. You can talk about buyer and seller disputes, breach of contracts, breach of contracts of sales disputes, and all these one we can engage who the person we are referring here as a forensic accountant. So if you would wish to specialize in forensic accounting, I believe you have so many areas and so many people to help, especially in the courts where we have those particular difficulties and differences among ourselves. The last part I wanted to look at here is what we call types of investigations.